Oh, meant to get to this last night with Amalgamite. A Bulgarian couple has been charged in an assault on Dundee girls following a viral video. For context, here's the original video. I'm sure all of you have seen this by now.
Yes, you have a knife.
You don't. I am fucking wealthy. You're fucking batting kids.
Why are you fucking with us?
These are fucking kid bashers.
Show the knife. Show the knife.
Get
Show
the
the knife.
fuck away from us.
Show the knife. Show the knife.
Don't touch it.
That's
Don't
it.
touch me.
That's
Do
it.
whatever
Show
you
the
want to
knife.
do. Get my sister.
Show the knife. That's it.
Don't fucking touch my liquor.
Yes, yeah, everyone in the world has seen this by now.
Where's all that fucking picture?
Yeah, well, Ilya Belov and Nadezhda Belova, Bulgarian nationals, allegedly harassed and assaulted 4 girls, as we saw there, aged 12 to 14 at a bus stop. Belov and Belova, both of them, they're described as Bulgarian nationals. They're gypsies. They're gypsies. Group of people notorious for causing trouble no matter where they go and pursuing a lot of criminal activity no matter where they go to. Belov pushed one down after sexual remarks. Belova punched and dragged another by the hair. Video of a 12-year-old girl brandishing an axe and knife went viral, prompting defenses from figures like Elon Musk and Tommy Robinson, while then First Minister Humza Yousaf dismissed claims based on early police reviews. Both adults appeared in Dundee Sheriff Court on Thursday without entering pleas. The case continues for CCTV analysis on March 6th. Police charged the girl with weapon possession and referred her to youth justice. The girls did nothing wrong, and these fucking gypsy nonces need to be thrown under the jail. They're just fed to a wood chipper. My stance on that remains completely unchanged. Oh, this from The Spectator. Been meaning to get to this one for quite a while. I've had this since December. Why weren't the grooming gangs treated as race hate crimes? Because the powers that be want the votes of minority populations. That's why. After months of turmoil, the chair in terms of reference of the government's National Grooming Gangs inquiry have at last been announced. The inquiry being held by Benesan Longfield, a Labour peer, former Children's Commissioner, should investigate the systemic institutional individual failures to deal with these gangs and protect their victims. It's unclear still what shape the inquiry will take and whether or not it will be a whitewash. Some survivors have already criticised the decision to make the inquiry chair a Labour peer. We've definitely seen the rape gang inquiry that Rupert Lowe has been conducting, and that has definitely not been a whitewash. That one actually has been quite successful in getting the word out and getting to the truth. When the author asked the Crown Prosecution Service for an example of a case... Actually, let me back up here. Key question will be how seriously it will take the central political controversy of these crimes and how the state has failed to deal with them, race and religion. We're told it will examine how ethnicity, religion or culture played a role in responses at a local and national level, as well as other issues of denial. In particular, it will consider the background, including ethnicity, religion and culture of the perpetrators. This is referring to gangs of predominantly Pakistani Muslim men and the victims, largely vulnerable white girls. This is quite right. But if the inquiry is aiming to look at systemic and institutional failures around these issues, there is one problem its terms of reference do not mention has long been staring the justice system in the face. Given these offences are widely understood to be the worst set of race hate crimes Britain has ever seen, why have they never been treated by the justice system as racially or religiously aggravated? We know the answer to that. Those in power want the votes of the Pakistani Muslim community. They're not going to do anything to aggravate them. They're also scared of them rioting and committing terrorist acts. The British state today has a bewildering array of offences aimed at punishing racism and hate, so why has there been no official reckoning over with these decades of violent, heinous, largely anti-white hate crimes? Because the bewildering array of offences aimed at punishing racism and hate is not for Pakistani Muslims. That's to be aimed at white people. That's for them. That's the two-tier system that UK citizens live under. Indeed, it's difficult to find a single example of British courts treating these appalling crimes in this way. Yeah, and they probably never will, not in our lifetimes anyway. So the CPS can seek tougher sentences, but has it? They say they will they prosecute the right person for the right offence, regardless of nationality. No, they don't. That's all bullshit. On the question of sentences being uplifted by courts for being hate crimes, Crown Prosecution Service spokesperson said any case where there's verbal abuse of the victims or similar demonstration of hostility based on race, color, nationality, or ethnicity at the time of the offense and immediately before or after would make the offense a racial hate crime and trigger the statutory uplift, which allows the judge to increase the length of sentence given to the perpetrator. So, racial abuse during the offending would make an offense a hate crime and automatically trigger the statutory uplift of a sentence by the court. Anyone familiar with the details of these crimes can see practically all of the CPS criteria for demonstrating an offense is racially or religiously aggravated applied to most of the rape gang cases. There wasn't just derogatory language toward ethnicity, race, nationality, or religion. Many of these offenses were sustained, with ordeals often lasting hours, some victims suffering abuse that went on for years. There was often the involvement of excessive violence, like cigarettes stubbed out on victims' naked bodies, and undoubtedly there was cruelty, humiliation, or degradation. There are statements from perpetrators like, "We're here to fuck all the white girls and fuck the government." We can plainly see the hostility based on the victim's race or religion. There was often repeat offending in the majority of cases. Crimes indeed escalated in severity and frequency. It's undeniable. In many cases, opportunistic offending against vulnerable girls soon became systematic and regular targeting of the victims. And there were often many bystanders and accomplices, most cases indeed having multiple perpetrators condoning and encouraging the offence. So, crime prosecutors can seek tougher sentences, but has it happened in practice? That's the big question. It ought to be very obvious if it had, given that a key element of hate crime laws, first introduced by New Labour in 1998, is that the court must state in open court the offence is so aggravated. At sentencing, there are statutory obligations to make sure relevant aggravating factors are taken into account. So what this means is that wherever we have sentencing remarks of grooming gang trials, and we now have several more thanks to the tireless efforts of Adam Wren and Melissa Tutt at Open Justice UK, we can see very plainly whether the court has considered racial aggravation in these crimes, even to deny it. Adam Wren says he has not seen any instance where racial motivation was pursued as an aggravating factor in these cases. There was no racial aggravation considered for the 5 Kirklees and Dewsbury offenders sentenced at Leeds Crown Court in 2022, one of whom said, "We're here to fuck all the white girls and fuck the government." Nor was it for the Rotherham gangs sentenced in 2016, one of whom called his victim a white bitch and trash as he was raping her. Sentencing a defendant this year, the judge said of the attitude of several abusers toward a 10-year-old girl, they had not been with a white girl. Sex before marriage was forbidden, but this innocent corrupted child would do to satisfy their sexual desires. Yet Judge Paul Batty made no reference to racial aggravation in sentencing. Thought crime. Yeah, sickeningly, these are by no means the first grooming gang trials we know of where apparent racial aggravation has been entirely ignored. 2017, an 18-strong Newcastle grooming gang of mostly Pakistani and Bangladeshi origin was sentenced for their campaign of horrific offences of rape and sexual assault. During one of the many trials, the jury heard how in 2014, one of the gang members had been caught travelling without a tube ticket by a female ticket inspector when he furiously exclaimed, "White women are good for only one thing, for people like me to fuck and use as trash." The gang showed similar contempt for their white victims, plying vulnerable women and girls with drink and drugs before raping them. These were profoundly racist crimes, said Lord MacDonald, former Director for Public Prosecutions. Yet racial aggravation was not reflected in their sentencing. The Attorney General even faced calls to review the sentences for their leniency, led by Conservative MP Mike Penning, a former Policing and Justice Minister, and taken up by then Solicitor General Robert Buckland. But they fell on deaf ears. The cause was soon dropped. Meanwhile, the judge who sentenced Rockdale grooming gang in 2012 stated bluntly, "All of you treated your victims as though they were worthless and beyond all respect. I believe one of the factors that led to that was that they were not of your community or religion." Yet somehow aggravation did not come into his sentencing equation. Like with the rest of the grooming gang scandal, the failure to treat these offences as racially aggravated points to a systemic problem in our institutions. It is the combined responsibility of the CPS, the police, and the courts to make sure the hate crime is successfully prosecuted. It also depends to no small degree on the prevailing political winds. 2004 came the invention of hate crime scrutiny panels, where representatives of various victim groups are effectively invited to lobby and monitor police and prosecutors to make sure they are being sufficiently attentive to alleged hate crimes against their group. Needless to say, in our system of asymmetrical multiculturalism, there are no groups expected to speak for white girls on these panels. 2015 child abuser Jamal Nasir was convicted of a racially aggravated offence for sexually assaulting 2 girls under the age of 13 because they were Asian. and was said to have therefore suffered cultural shame as a result of the offences. This ruling, that Asians suffer more from being raped than whites, was later upheld at the Court of Appeal. Likewise, in October, CPS was quick to announce the charging of an alleged rape of a Sikh woman by a white man in Walsall as a religiously aggravated rape along with a religiously racially aggravated assault. The outcry at the racial element of this offence was loud and immediate. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood herself immediately weighed in to call it horrific, in stark contrast to decades of official denialism and mute silence about the racist rape gangs. Before that recent offence, the only reference to racially aggravated rape yielded by a web search are Sentencing Council guidelines from 2005, which describe it as among crimes where the victim has been targeted because of his or her membership with a vulnerable minority. Which is to say, not if they've been targeted as a white slag, as one victim was called in Rotherham. Two-tier justice is a phrase that might seem glib, but it really shouldn't. Because that's what we're dealing with. It's not just the work of a handful of edit-woke judges, it's the product of an entire architecture of Britain's anti-racist state. Tony Blair's Labour government's quest for permanent and irrevocable change did not just mean rubbing the right's noses in diversity via immigration. It entailed creating a special new category of crime that functioned along principles of left-wing identity politics. As the debate that introduced them made clear, this special seriousness was never intended to apply to crimes against white victims. In practice, the law has almost always worked that way. The British justice system's treatment of the rape gang scandals show it is institutionally racist when it comes to white victims. That feels like a conquering force having two-tier justice in place to oppress the locals. Indeed, that's exactly what we're dealing with. Meanwhile, you've got this. We were supposed to get this to this last night with Amalgamite. Went off on a bit of a tangent on other things, of course. But this from Count Dankula. A literal terrorist is running for office in the United Kingdom. 3, 2, 1, go.
Convicted terrorist standing in Birmingham election to unite Sparkhill. It's just, my God, man.
Can't make this stuff up.
It's genuinely got to the point where we just have literal convicted Muslim terrorists running in elections now. Like, that's just a thing that can happen in this country. Like, we used to be all, like, united against the terrorists. I mean, damn, we fought, like, 2 forever wars to get fucking rid of them and lost.
Yeah, it used to be, when Britain was a sensible country, that would just say, no, you're not going to stand in an election in Birmingham. You're a convicted terrorist. You belong in a prison cell, or you just need to be executed. But we're not having this, and yet here we are. Madness.
And now we've just got them all over here and they're running in our elections. And I don't mean like Muslims, no, I'm talking about a literal convicted terrorist is running in an election here. Former jihadist...
Although, to be clear, Muslims have no business whatsoever holding any sort of elective office in Britain.
Shahid Butt says his controversial past and life experiences would make him an ideal counsellor.
No, they wouldn't.
Committed various war crimes back in the day. Some of those videos that you probably saw on Live Leak, some of those were me, actually. Which is why I think I should have a council seat so that I can manage bin collection and maintaining park benches and stuff like that. Definitely.
When we know he's not going to do any of that sort of thing. How about the 1,000 years of Mohammedans trying to conquer Europe? Yes. We need a new crusade. We desperately need a new crusade. And we needed it several years ago.
I can see how that experience has some crossover.
Also, I find it amusing. Shahid Butt. His last name is Butt. It's so outrageous, it's comical. It's like, you'd swear you're living in a simulation. But no, it's real.
A Birmingham Muslim activist who was jailed for his part in an armed terror plot is seeking election to represent Sparkhill on the city council. Go on, let's talk about what he did. Shahid Butt 60 says he believes he is the ideal candidate to unite a divided community and city, push back against the far right. Oh yeah, we can't have those far right religious radicals.
Yeah, no, can't have that. No.
Far right, you're right, far right religious.
No, yeah, we can't have anyone on the so-called far right. No, that's going to lead to goose-stepping jetties marching in our streets, and, it'll be World War II all over again. Can't have that, no.
Just radicals are bad. We definitely shouldn't have any of those.
Yeah, the far-right radicals, those are bad, but, a convicted Muslim terrorist, yeah, that's all right.
He'd bought convicted Muslim terrorist that literally tried to blow up the British fucking consulate. But anyway, oh, sorry, I bust my nut too early. That's what he did, by the way. Well, one of the things that he did. And defeat Labour.
What a lovely model citizen. What an absolute lovely, this is peak good citizen here. Not those evil far-right people.
In one of its traditional strongholds. His candidacy has come under immediate fire online amid claims he advocates violence, pushes a strongly Islamist agenda, and has significant history of criminality that should bar him from sitting on the council.
Wow. Muslim terrorist does Muslim terrorist things. Imagine my shock.
He has openly encouraged the city's Muslim youth to work out at the gym and learn to fight, like those far-right radicals, in readiness.
Yeah, but it's fine when the Muslims do it, but white Britons, no, can't have that. That's far-right extremism, don't you know? Working out at the gym. No, you're an evil Nazi if you do that.
Potential attacks, and urged Muslims to stand together and hold their ground against people of other faiths who he describes as disbelievers. Well, then leave the country, mate.
Yeah,
Leave
get
the
the fuck
country
out.
if you don't like Christians. Just leave.
Go back to wherever the fuck you came from.
Right, your entire religion's based on a glowing man in a fucking cave. How is it demons present themselves again? So that you think
Yeah, and it was also the product of a desert whore.
you're friendly? Anyway, he also advocates turning away from gangs.
Yeah, but no, I live in Luton. Are there no trees left in Britain? Somebody needs to go Vlad Dracul with this butt. For legal reasons, we don't advocate violence, and legal reasons also prevent me from agreeing with you.
Gangs, drugs, dangerous driving, and antisocial behaviour, which, well, I mean, that's fine. Those are normal things to run an election on. Ahead of the Villa match against Maccabi Tel Aviv last November, he had called on Muslims from around the country to head to Birmingham to show solidarity for Palestine and prevent the Israeli team's fans from desecrating and dirtying the city.
Yeah, I projection match. I'm fairly certain the team fans, the fans for the Israeli team, they're a bit of a lot of clean freaks. So don't really have to worry about desecration or dirtying the city. No, that seems to come more with the Palestine solidarity crowd.
Birmingham. Claiming
Yeah. You don't hear of fans of the Israeli team shitting in the streets and doing that sort of thing.
IDF baby killers were set to be in the city. He also posted a video from a protest at the match saying Muslims are not pacifists. If somebody comes into your face, you knock his teeth out. That's my message to the youth.
Oh, glad we have that understanding.
But a father of 5 and grandfather to 2 girls will be one of an estimated 20 candidates who will be standing alongside controversial lawyer Ahmed Yaqub. Oh.
Ahmed Yaqub and Shakil Afsar, because those are thoroughly British names. Yes, I'm sure they're from around somewhere in Birmingham.
That changes things. And fellow local activist Shakil Afsar in an independent candidates alliance. In a launch video for his campaign with the two men, he tells people that he will be relying on the support of Allah, these guys, and you to win the seat. The post has been slated on social media, with one response claiming Birmingham is on the cusp of being lost forever. Others responded to the news with clips of controversial comments made by Butt on podcasts and in interviews about Israel, Muslims, and Birmingham. But he believes his story of recovery from the darkness of his earlier life, strong local recognizability, and 20 years of activism for local and youth causes will help him win. But here it is. I was worried they weren't going to talk about it. Butt was convicted on terror charges in 1999 amid claims he was part of a terrorist enterprise conspiring to terrorize Yemen. He was found guilty of forming an armed gang and conspiring to bomb the British consulate an Anglican church, and a Swiss-owned hotel in Yemen. The group was supposedly linked to Islamic radicals who
Funny
kidnapped
that.
16 Westerners in 1998, 4 of whom were killed. They were accused of being sent to Yemen by radical cleric Abu Hamza. Remember that guy? Some of you Zoomers may be a little bit too young, but Abu Hamza was a big name back in the day. But always proclaimed his innocence and says that he confessed under severe torture.
Yeah, that severe torture was well deserved. And 5 years in jail, that's not long enough. They should never let him out.
He was later jailed for 5 years, but I mean, given some of his current opinions, you know, just saying.
Didn't learn his
Before that,
lesson.
he had been jailed in Birmingham for
He's
violence
unrepentant.
and was in trouble regularly through the 1980s, linked to his
Evil
role
intent, thank
in
you for the follow.
notorious Lynx Gang, a street gang of mainly Pakistanis who took on the racist far-right, skinheads, and National Front. Asked about his violent past,
The far right, the skinheads, and the National Front couldn't put together a better coalition to take on that lot? Really? That's pathetic.
he said, "I am not a pacifist. If someone attacks me, I am not just going to turn the other cheek, I'm going to defend myself." Also having a little jab at Christians again. "I will also be preemptive. As the law advises
Yeah,
me,
that's
if
exactly
I
what
feel
he's
like
doing.
my life is threatened or my family, I will do a preemptive strike." That's
Well, that sounds like a threat. Possibly of the terroristic variety.
kind of not how self-defense works. I wish it did, but
Yeah.
that's not how self-defense
Unfortunate.
works. Self-defense in Britain is a very, very messy subject. But does that mean I go around oppressing or bullying people? No, I think that's disgusting. Even though
That's what
your
you're
religion
doing.
asks for exactly that for
Yeah.
non-believers. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're sort of doing that already, mate. You're engaging in taqiyya. You're lying to advance your little cult there.
he added, "I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I can make mistakes as well. Sometimes in the
That's
heat of
putting
the
it
moment, I
mildly.
say something that I may later regret. But I'm not an AI robot. I'm a real person. I have had a very colourful life and had my ups and downs, but that's what gives me
Also,
credibility in
understatement
my
of the
community.
century.
People see me as a real person with all my faults and shortcomings.
No, you're not a real person. You're just a savage animal, and you need to be locked away and kept out of society in general. And you don't belong in Britain. You don't belong anywhere in the West. You just need to be sent back where you came from.
Asked if he believed he was a unifying or divisive force, he said, "I genuinely believe we can unify and bring people together, even if we are talking about the far right. If you stick to your guns and stand firm, your enemy will respect you. I believe strongly I can bring people together. I don't have a degree from a university, but I do have a PhD in life."
You don't know
Specifically asked if
shit.
he was anti-Semitic, he said that as a Muslim, I cannot be anti-Semitic.
That is a fucking lie.
"The Jews are my cousins. We both have the same father." Which, okay, Abraham, yeah, true. Yeah. Okay, true. But,
Whatever.
come
I
on.
mean, yeah. Come on. Come on. Who do you think you're
Come on,
fooling? Yeah.
man. Like, you expect us to
You're
fucking
fooling
believe
no
that.
one. Yeah.
However, he said he had no love for
I love the
Zionism,
face.
the
I love his
belief in the
face.
right for Israel to exist as a Jewish homeland, and had been outspoken about Israel's war on Gaza and the plight of Palestinians. "I'm against any kind of apartheid behaviour, whoever is doing it, but no, I am not an anti-Semite. I am happy to sit with them, break bread, have a coffee with them. I have no issue whatsoever." He also claimed suggestions that
he's
an Islamic
fooling no
takeover
one.
of Birmingham or anywhere else were wildly exaggerated, even though he said all that stuff about non-believers. There is a certain agenda pushing that. It is overhyped. The
He thinks he's so clever. He thinks he's so clever. Lying this way. We see what he's doing. We know. He knows we know. And we know he knows we know. He's fooling no one.
They're giving us too much credit. Muslims are not that powerful. It's like, oh, I'm too weak. Oh,
Horseshit.
Muslims are not pacifists. Kill the non-believers. But anyway, when I'm sitting in the council chamber, I will not be implementing Sharia law. I
Another
have
lie.
to abide by British law, the law of this
Another
land. I mean,
lie.
yeah, no, not yet. But you all want Sharia law. Because you're a Muslim, and that's literally part of the Quran.
Yeah.
Uh,
They always misuse the word apartheid. Yes, one of many misused words by Muslim activists, by leftists, but again, we go back to that line from Freeran. To them, words are just another means to deceive humans.
What was that? Yeah, I will be an advocate of the law of the land. The irony is
No,
that
you
the
won't.
word Islamist is misunderstood.
Lie.
Islamists believe in democracy. Surely that is a good thing.
Also a lie. They don't believe in that.
No, they fucking don't.
Yeah, they fucking
He
don't.
added, people suggest we are fifth colonists living here. Partly that's because of the strength of the narrative being promoted by the far right, who now have billionaires and politicians behind them, and you have the Saudi royal family. Now, that's a sensitive subject. Everybody wants to talk about the Jewish question. Nobody's talking about the Saudi question.
Yeah. Funny
You see
that.
all the big companies, BlackRock and all the pharmaceuticals and everywhere bloody else. I mean, even look at 9/11 and stuff like that. I don't know why they get such a pass.
Because they've got the money and they bought everybody off. The Saudis paid a lot of bribe money to a lot of people to very conveniently overlook a lot of facts surrounding 9/11. I mean, when you are the House of Saud and you've got more money than you will ever know what to do with, that you can literally just cut a check to everyone in your country and just say, we've got too much money here, have a check, have some free money. You think they're not going to start buying people off all around the world, just taking suitcases full of cash and just throwing their weight around all over the world? You bet your ass they're going to do that, and that's exactly what they've done.
Like, a lot of people say things like that about the Jews, but why did the Saudi royal family get such a pass? Right? And that's a very, very dangerous subject. That's when you get in big trouble for talking about that one. Also, who owns half the property in London? Anyway, Muslims don't have the power and influence
funny
to
that.
counter that narrative. We are British citizens and abide by British law. We are not implementing Sharia law. This is not a Muslim country. He said he was standing for council now because he had the desire and time to devote to the community where he had grown up. I don't like party politics. I did not previously see anything I wished to get behind. There was no party I felt I could join, where I could be truthful to the people I represent. He said he supported the project led by Yaqub and Afsar, but would remain independent. He said of his local campaign, my priorities are to support the youth and their education, to turn them away from drugs and antisocial behaviour and dangerous driving. I want safer and cleaner streets in Spark Hill.
If you want that, then you and the rest of the people like you need to get the fuck out. Because you people don't know how to do anything other than just inshitify any place you infest. You all live clean, unclean, unsanitary lives, and you just, again, you inshitify everywhere you go. Just get the fuck out. We can't have nice, clean communities that are safe because people like you live there. You have to fucking go back.
I have seen my community change over 5 decades, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, I have seen communities change over the decades. What I've seen the land of my ancestors change over several decades. It breaks my heart, and you know why that's happening? It's because of fucktards like this. Bunch of goddamn terrorists who think that, oh, we'll just run for high office and inshitify places even more. No. Fuck off. Get the fuck out, go back to where you came from. There's no place for people like this. But we get what we tolerate, and apparently my people decide they're still going to tolerate things like this. It ends when they stop tolerating it. Or at least it starts to end when they stop tolerating it.
He railed against community apathy and urged people to back community initiatives to improve their own streets and neighbourhoods, rather than waiting for others to do it for them. We need to take matters into our own hands. Let's get it sorted together. Right. I like how the guy's doing the politician thing where he says one thing in private and another when the cameras are rolling. I like to say whatever I want when the cameras are rolling, much to the chagrin of everyone during the UKIP conference.
It's easier that way.
However, Sargon did kind of upstage me at that one, which I was a little bit disappointed about. I was very, very hungover and I wasn't on top form. My bad. But still, yeah, we have an actual convicted
Typical.
terrorist running for office in Britain. Welcome to the UK.
Welcome to Clown World. Give that a like. Let me copy the link here, and I'll post this into all the chats for everyone. Go give that a watch. Go give it a like.